I am the voice of Long Beach, the one and only, Halftime Howie!
Howie here. Welcome to another edition of Broadcasting on the Beach with Halftime Howie. We have another big show planned. We have Rocco Pasafumi. He's going to do his review of White Boy Rick, which we saw yesterday. Rich Kaplan's going to do his movie review. We have a musical guest. Patrick Wynn from FFO is going to be bringing his unique talents to the show today. And I want to start off. You know, the summer flew by, Labor Day came and went, and this was a very somber week because we all remember and pay tribute to what happened on 9/11. And, you know, I have to mention this because most newspapers and media outlets the day after 9/11 on their front page would show pictures appropriate of heroic firefighters, heroic policemen, first responders, as they pay tribute to the memory of 9/11, where so many heroic firefighters, policemen, and just people going to work, on normal days of work, lost their lives. But the New York Post, the day after 9/11, instead of paying tribute to all the heroic firefighters, police officers, and first responders, this was their headline, the day after 9/11. Folks, I can't think of the New York Post, a tabloid, stooping to a lower low than this. Instead of putting the police officers in the 9 and first responders and firefighters, put a disgusting story about the Beatles' sex habits when they were teenagers on their front page the day. No firefighters on the front page, no police officers on the front page, no first responders on the front page, just a story of the Beatles, the iconic Beatles, sex habits when they were teenagers. The New York Post deemed that more important to put the Beatles' sex habits, masturbating in a group, on the front page of the New York Post, while every other news outlet throughout the country showed police officers, first responders, firefighters on their front page. But no, not the New York Post. They had the Beatles' sex habits of John and Paul masturbating in a group. How disgusting, how immoral. You know, and later in the week, folks, the New York Post ran a editorial calling a politician despicable. You know, I love this expression. People in glass houses should not throw stones. If anyone has the nerve to call anyone else despicable, it's the New York Post for running this disgusting, despicable headline on their front page instead of honoring the heroes of 9/11. So I just had to get that out of my system, and I put that on my Facebook feed, and a lot of the people agreed with me because, folks, 9/11 was one of the worst things, probably the worst thing that ever happened to our country, and for a media outlet not to show tribute, to pay tribute to that, and put such a disgusting story on their headline, on their front page, shows how low class the New York Post is. And for them to criticize someone later in the week with an editorial calling them despicable, what hypocrites. So, had to get that out of my system. and had to put it right, but we hope you would enjoy our show today. And when I see a wrong, I will always talk about it. And in the coming weeks, we're going to talk about a very important event that Rocco and I are going to participate in. It's being run by the county executive, Laura Curran, and the police executive. And it covers all the things that we are so passionate about. On Tuesday night, September 25th, at Hofstra University is going to be a 2-hour forum that's going to talk about many important topics that we've talked about on the show. And it's going to be a whole 2-hour expose covering things like the opioid crisis, the drug crisis, how to prevent school violence. So all talk about how to prevent cyberbullying. So all those critical, important topics are going to be covered, and Rocco and I are going to be there to cover it that night and maybe get some interviews with some key people. And we urge you, if you can, to attend. And as the weeks go on, we'll have more information. But it's, I think, a forum that all concerned people in the community and parents should definitely attend, because it's definitely covering a lot of important topics that affect our society today. So, and 3 words for the New York Post: shame on you. All right. And that's my opening statement for tonight.